benefiting from the partnerships of course, all the French major institutions for research, but also very much a thank you to the UNESCO, to the UN organizations, to the FAO for all the fantastic co-leads for these workshops and these ateliers. So, sans plus tarder, puisqu'on me parle en même temps dans l'oreille, et en même temps, l'idée c'est, on est dans un immense séminaire contributif pour les débats, pour le dialogue, et encore une fois pour développer des propositions et des actions pour cet agenda de 2022 absolument crucial pour les enjeux de l'océan. Madame la ministre, je vous invite sur scène pour ouvrir cet atelier The Science We Need sous les auspices de l'UNESCO. Merci beaucoup.
Madame la ministre des Universités et de la Recherche, chère Cristina, Monsieur le secrétaire exécutif de la Commission Oceanographique Intergouvernementale de l'UNESCO, Monsieur le président du comité de mission Régénérer notre océan et nos eaux, cher Pascal, Madame la directrice du Schmidt Ocean Institute, Mesdames et Messieurs les présidents, Mesdames et Messieurs les directeurs, Mesdames et Messieurs en vos grades et qualités, Mesdames et Messieurs, chers amis. Des zones mortes qui augmentent, des sargasses qui prolifèrent, des espèces invasives qui s'étendent quand d'autres s'éteignent, des côtes qui s'érodent, des eaux qui s'acidifient et se réchauffent. Tel est le triste bilan de santé de l'océan dressé en 2021 à la demande de l'ONU dans le World Ocean Assessment. Ce constat est d'autant plus alarmant que l'océan est tout à la fois le poumon de la planète et le grenier de l'humanité. Il absorbe 30% du CO2 généré par les activités humaines, il fournit plus d'oxygène que toutes les forêts du monde, il assure la subsistance directe de 3,5 milliards d'habitants et constitue une réserve de ressources utile à tous. En résumé, ce qui se joue dans le ventre de l'océan, c'est tout simplement l'avenir de la vie sur notre planète. Si nous savons tout cela, c'est grâce à la science. C'est elle qui a objectivé les changements qui affectent l'océan et ses écosystèmes. C'est elle qui a décrit son rôle clé dans la régulation du climat. C'est elle qui nous amène à regarder l'océan comme un tout, comme une seule et même eau, qui relie les populations et qui respire au rythme des activités humaines. Aujourd'hui, alors que le One Ocean Summit lance un appel à agir pour préserver l'océan, pour restaurer sa biodiversité, pour valoriser durablement ses ressources, nous avons plus que jamais besoin de recherche, car on ne protège bien que ce que l'on connaît bien. C'est la raison pour laquelle la science océanique est au cœur du symposium auquel s'adosse ce sommet politique international. Et cet atelier en est l'un des temps forts, et je me réjouis d'être avec vous ce matin pour ouvrir ces travaux aux côtés de mon homologue italienne, la ministre Cristina Messa. Même s'il est de mieux en mieux documenté, l'océan demeure une frontière pour nos connaissances. Ses profondeurs peinent à être sondées. L'inventaire de sa biodiversité n'en est encore qu'à ses prémices. Et à cet inconnu structurel s'ajoute un inconnu conjoncturel, le réchauffement climatique, dont les impacts demandent à être décryptés pour être traités. Pour embrasser cet inconnu, il est essentiel que la science océanique se développe à l'image de son objet, de façon profondément interconnectée, tant sur le plan disciplinaire que sur le plan géographique. Les données et les connaissances doivent mieux circuler au sein de la communauté scientifique pour irriguer davantage le débat public et la décision politique. Car les citoyens, les usagers de l'océan, les décideurs ont besoin d'expertise, d'informations, de modèles, d'innovation pour agir, qu'il s'agisse de tracer les contours de nouvelles aires marines protégées ou de préparer des scénarios d'adaptation et de remédiation à l'impact du changement climatique sur les écosystèmes marins. À toutes les échelles, nous voyons émerger de nouveaux cadres de collaboration et c'est, j'en suis convaincue, constitue une vraie source d'espoir. En France, le programme prioritaire de recherche Océan et Climat, qui a été lancé en juin dernier, structure les forces scientifiques autour des enjeux de préservation et de gestion durable de l'océan. En Europe, la mission Régénérer notre océan et nos eaux vise à co-construire des solutions et des initiatives innovantes avec les acteurs locaux et les citoyens. Enfin, la décennie des Nations Unies pour les sciences océaniques constitue une fenêtre unique pour créer de nouvelles synergies internationales. Cet atelier participe pleinement de cette dynamique d'échange et de collaboration. En tenant le One Ocean Summit dans le cadre de sa présidence du Conseil de l'Union européenne, la France a souhaité rappeler à l'Europe et au monde notre destin maritime commun. Je ne doute pas que les recommandations auxquelles vous allez aboutir permettront aux gouvernants de l'embrasser à la fois avec sagesse et avec ambition. C'est tout ce que je nous souhaite à tous. Et je vous remercie par avance pour l'ensemble de vos travaux. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Ministre. Nous allons tout de suite enchaîner avec Madame Messa. Ministre, venez. On peut l'applaudir aussi. Minister for the Universities, Government of Italy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and it's a real pleasure for me to be here and open this event together with the French Minister, Mrs. Frédérique Vidal. Thank you for the invitation, and also allow me to thank of the France for these initiatives organized during the presidency of the Council. Oceans and seas are a traditional area of cooperation between our two countries, both bilaterally and within the European Union and international fora. Also, the Trattato del Quirinale, the treaty making the milestones in the history of Italo-French relations, recently signed during the visit of Italy of President Macron, highlights the importance of the theme within our excellent relationship. The research and the eco-sustainable use of marine resources, the research results and the innovation implemented to support the framework of the Ocean Decade are of utmost importance. At the same time, it is necessary to ensure a responsible development of the so-called blue economy in the perspective of a full sustainability. Our special attention goes to the Mediterranean area, a miniature ocean that anticipates and reflects the multiple human pressures occurring at the global scale, which already is and must remain a great laboratory of ideas, innovation, and talents. In that context, let me underline that we strongly believe in the new European partnership on a climate-neutral, sustainable, and productive blue economy. Italy sees in this future Horizon Europe partnership a huge opportunity for research and innovation activities in the ocean and regional seas, starting from the Mediterranean. These initiatives will be coordinated by Italy together with other European partners and the European Commission within Horizon Europe, and strong links will be built with other similar Horizon Europe funded partnerships, and in particular with the European mission Restore Our Ocean and Waters by 2030. All this and also the pooling of EU and national funds puts now the marine and maritime theme at the center of European political action, and at the same time supports our effort for global initiatives such as UN Decade for Ocean Science and Sustainable Development. Our challenge and hope is to create a strong link between countries, based on a common vision of the future and on the ambitious goal to take advantage of economic and environmental opportunities, improving together our sustainability balance between the exploitation of natural resources and their conservation at the same time. Research and technological development are the key factors for achieving such ambitious results. We are aware that we are in close connection with nature. For this reason, we look forward to a real implementation of the One Health approach, as without healthy seas and healthy ocean, there is no life and no economic prosperity. Universities and research institutions in this context must help designing new circular economy approaches, aiming to reduce harmful, though indirect, human pressures on the ocean and to ensure an increased participation in the opportunities offered by seas and oceans. Appropriate skills and green-blue technologies must be created to feed the new sustainable blue economy and ensure the development of its drivers that are blue tourism, seafood, maritime transport, renewable energy production, marine biotechnologies, biodiversity conservation. I would also like to spend a few words about the Mercator initiative. We are convinced that Mercator constitutes a fundamental resource for the analysis, representation, and forecast of the state of the seas and oceans. And consequently, on the Italian side, there is an interest in ensuring the further development and expansions of research activities and the provision of services. Italy, through two organizations, already is part of Mercator, and with particular attention to the implementation of a virtual representation seafloor, already significantly impacted by human activities. In this context, the Italian research centers and university will be able to provide an excellent contribution. So we therefore welcome the launch of negotiations aimed at shaping intergovernmental collaboration that can give further impetus to these activities. We believe that the Mercator initiatives can now make a qualitative leap with the establishment of an international organization. I would like to underline the increasing Italian commitment to raise the strategic, economic, but also social importance of the seas, to create new employment opportunities for the young people, and to allow the workforce to acquire new blue skills, to share resources and data, and promote a multi- and transdisciplinary approach for the development of sustainable blue economy. So in conclusion, let me hope that this event will contribute at improving the coordination of many research and innovation entities, engage and enable all of us to get the science we need for the seas and oceans we want. Thank you.
Very nice. And while Jyotika Virmani, the director of the Schmidt Ocean Institute, is joining us, I would like to say again that this workshop is co-chaired by Vladimir Ryabinin, the executive secretary of the Intergovernmental Conference for the Ocean at the UNESCO, and Mr. Pascal Lamy, that everybody knows, and in his capacity of the chair of the mission Starfish for the Ocean and Waters, is co-chairing. I would like to say and point as well that we have always had in every workshop a co-lead, a French co-lead, and thank you very much, François Houllier, the chairman and the director general of IFREMER, for being one of our speakers, and also who has encouraged us very much in this whole One Ocean Summit with different activities. Jyotika, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok, for that introduction. Thank you, ministers, very much for your notes and your comments on pointing out the importance of science to this summit and also the importance of science to society and the great work that's going on across Europe. Mesdames et Messieurs les ambassadrices et ambassadeurs, the honourable invitees, Mesdames et Messieurs, welcome to this workshop on the science we need for the ocean we want. I'm, as Ashok said, Jyotika Virmani, the Executive Director for the Schmidt Ocean Institute, and I'm your moderator for this session. As you all know, the ocean is central to global climate, biodiversity, and food security ambitions, and its sustainable management is a prerequisite to equitable economic development. Yet critical gaps in ocean knowledge are hindering our collective ability to develop innovative solutions to meet national and global challenges, including the 2030 Agenda. With its vision of the science we need for the ocean we want, the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development offers a unique opportunity for diverse actors to co-design and co-deliver the solution-oriented ocean knowledge we need to sustain our shared ocean. So, to start us off, I would like to introduce Dr. Vladimir Ryabinin, the Executive Secretary of the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO. And as you know, he's currently focusing on creating a solid scientific foundation for managing the ocean sustainably, including through the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. So, Vladimir, please take the stage.
Thank you so much, Jyotika, also for the wonderful introduction. Mesdames les Ministres, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, all courtesies observed. I hope my first slide is already there. That was agreed. I think it's really important. I will be speaking fast, and I have to apologize for that. But the message is very important, and you know, the first slide should be there, and it's already there, and we go to the second slide because we already know. We're going to speak about the science that is needed to manage the ocean. And you know, this is basically a huge contribution to our desire on the planet to live better through the Agenda 2030, Agenda of Sustainable Development, of which the ocean is a big part. But you know, this was announced in 2015, but already in 2015, United Nations came up with the first World Ocean Assessment that stated that humankind is running out of time to start managing the ocean sustainably. And you know, what does it mean to manage the ocean? It means that manage coastal zones, be able to manage activities offshore through maritime special planning, conserve and protect biodiversity, also through the BBNJ, biodiversity beyond areas national jurisdiction, management of fisheries, aquaculture, adaptation, mitigation of climate change. We have to have appropriate policies for the ocean. We need to provide services, and Pierre Baurel is going to speak about those. And I will tell you how unequal is our capacities in our countries in this connection. And I have to warn people about what is happening. So the perspectives are amazing, and they are coming from the ideas of the high-level panel of sustainable development, sustainable ocean economy. So we can generate 6 times more food from the ocean, 40 times more renewable energy in a sustainable way. We can cut 20% of the carbon gap that is required to reach the Paris Agreement, the ambitious part, 1.5 degrees of warming. We will be able to restore and protect ocean ecosystems and generate the economy, which is probably 7 times more than the economy now. The perspectives are fantastic, but for that, we need to have certain conditions. We need to stop pollution from of the ocean from land. We need to innovate and de-risk the finances. And for that, we need to have new science, the science that involves not only the traditional ocean science, but also economy and some other social elements of science. Of course, we need to have the data, and Pascal is going to speak about that, and we need to move towards ocean planning. Sustainable ocean planning is the new paradigm that is now emerging and will be shaping the science and also the work in the ocean. And the high-level panel committed to start managing 100% of the exclusive economic zones on the basis of science. This is the revolution in how we deal with the ocean. So, but you know, it is not easy. You know, we have critical knowledge gaps, and this capable panel is going to present to you some of them. How are we going to organize ourselves? We need to move towards observations, exchange of data, conduct research on many issues that are lacking knowledge. We have to continue providing assessment, inform the policy, generate real-time service, and this will be, for us, the foundation for managing the ocean sustainably. So this is all basically creating capacity of ocean science. And you know, if you look at this map of the world, which is not traditional, this is the map of the world that shows capacity of countries, how to deal with the science, how to produce, and we can see that small island developing states in Africa are not on the map. They are not even sometimes able to benefit from the science. We need to change that. We need then, of course, finances. And the Global Ocean Science Report that we published in 2020 basically states that investment in ocean science as a part of global investment science is just 1.7%. Let me give you the overall picture. We are generating in the economy trillions of US dollars. We are investing in science, well, I'd say a few billions of US dollars globally, and we are investing in coordinating the science. I would say millions or sometimes hundreds of thousands. We could generate a lot of money, but unfortunately we under-research the ocean, we under-observe the ocean, and also we under-coordinate what we do in the ocean. We have to change that. So for us, it was clear in 2016 already, and we started to develop the movement. We don't have a convention in ocean science. This is why we needed to develop a public movement towards strengthening the ocean science. So we would like to achieve certain qualities of the ocean. That will be clean, healthy, resilient, productive, predicted, safe, accessible ocean, and also inspiring. You see, this is not only qualities of the ocean, this is also qualities of people and their relation with the ocean and themselves. We have an implementation plan that is focusing on various aspects of pollution, climate, and things like this. So basically, summarizing, what is the science we need for the ocean we want? That is the science that is focusing on providing foundation for sustainable ocean planning, that is competent, this is solution-oriented, resourceful, also linked to the economy. It has to be our common science, co-designed, in partnership. And I would like also to say that it is very important. This science is not a technocratic science. This is new, ethical, and humane science that we are creating now together. I'm very happy to see a lot of young people coming to the room, and I think this is a good sign. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vladimir, for a great opening keynote that sets the stage for the rest of this workshop in discussing the challenges that sustainable ocean management faces, the current inequitable distribution of scientific knowledge and skills, and the science that's needed. So joining me on our first panel to dig into the critical knowledge needs for sustainable ocean management is Professor Katja Matthes, Director of GEOMAR, Helmtholtz Center for Ocean Research in Kiel, and she's an expert in climate variability and climate change. Matthias Jonas, the Secretary General of the International Hydrographic Organization, who has expertise in sea surveying and cartography, and Dr. Valérie Verdier, who is the Présidente Directrice Générale de l'Institut de Recherche pour le Développement, a biologist with expertise in food security and an interest in particular on coral reefs. And I hope tuning in remotely from San Diego in California is Dr. Margaret Leinen, Director of the Scripps Institute of Oceanography. Do we know if she's able to join us? You did? Okay, great. So she's also a member of the UN Ocean Decade Advisory Board and has research interests in biogeochemical cycling in the ocean, amongst other things. So before we get to the discussion, I look around and I see a room of talented people, incredibly talented people. And Anton Chekhov said that brevity is the sister of talent. So I want to remind everyone that we are accepting questions from the audience, but I ask that you keep the questions brief, and I ask that the panelists also keep their answers brief in the interest of time. And so as you think of your questions, I have something to get the ball rolling here. And my first line of questioning is really around why should we care? So Matthias, I'm going to actually start with you and the seafloor. We often hear that we have better maps of the moon or even Mars than we do about the seabed. So why is this, and what are the benefits to society for mapping the seabed? How does that contribute to sustainable ocean management?
May I land that? Oh, thank you. Yeah, that works. Yeah, thank you for 3 questions in one. The first semi-serious answer is the moon is already on observation for long. I guess even people in the Stone Age were looking for every night and wonder why this changes and appears and disappears. More seriously, why do we know more about the space objects compared to the topography of the seas and oceans? There are mainly 2 answers. The one is bound to politics, and the second is are technical reasons. So simply the space exploration managed to get high priority of humanity. So, and the effort to fly to the moon and circumvent the Mars was enormous, but taking pictures, that was relatively easy. You had fast-flying satellites taking pictures, almost no disturbances from the atmosphere. And if you do it once, it lasts nearly forever. So, and for the moon, we had telescopes, so that was easy. And there were no political barriers to take those pictures and to share. I think sharing this knowledge was a good example for an early open data policy. And that exactly contrasts with our efforts we spent to map the topography, seabed topography of our oceans. So as you all know, the oceans are not really high up of humanity's agenda until recently, and the whole undertaking here is to change that. Water is opaque, and it gets darker once you go deeper. Remote sensing by satellite doesn't really help to look through, so you get 10 or 20 meters depth, and then it's over with the satellite. So you need to do in situ measurements. You have to go with floating units to measure. You need a decently good weather condition, and you need technology which is designed that, which is costly. And we should not forget the area is huge. That has been alluded by many before me, so I don't need to repeat that. And we have remote areas like polar waters where this is extraordinarily difficult.
Could you just quickly say why the seafloor mapping is important for society?
Yeah, well, I mean, those who have been here yesterday, they will see that many of the speakers were illustrating their speeches with maps. And there are basically only two types of maps. So a cartographer would say we have topographic map that describes the topography, and then we have thematic maps. You can have thematic maps for polar circulation, for habitats, for the movement of pollutants, for spawning areas, and. But if my understanding of oceanography is correct, that oceanography do not only deliver the observation and report about, but deliver the explanation, the interpretation, what has been observed, I can only see that this is always a merger of the noted effects with the natural topography. How can you explain tides and currents? How can you explain the Gulf Stream? How can you explain the movement of pollutants without knowing the shape and the texture of the seafloor?
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Matthias. So it's a fundamental piece of our understanding of the ocean. So I'd like to turn to Margaret, if we can tune in to Margaret. Is that possible? Are you on? Is she online? Okay. So Margaret, there you are. Welcome. So similarly, we hear that over 95% of the living space on Earth is in the ocean. But how much do we know about biodiversity, and why should society care? How important is the ocean ecosystem for sustainable management?
Thank you, Jyotika. Biodiversity is really important because species are very interdependent. For example, there are complex food webs that support our fisheries. These food webs extend down to phytoplankton and even microbes. And we even know that parasites make up an enormous percentage of the species in the ocean, more than 50%. But we don't know what controls them. And they clearly affect species we appreciate, like fish, marine mammals, corals, etc. We know that when we remove predators like large tuna and sharks, that the entire ecosystem shifts. But when we don't understand the types of shifts and why they're shifting, we'll have consequences. So that's why we need to diversity.
Thank you, Margaret. So it's really underpinning a lot of our food security. I am going to now ask Katja So we saw at COP26 last year that the ocean was recognized for the first time in those climate discussions, and there's an increasing global awareness of the importance of climate. But can we talk about exactly why the ocean is included in these conversations, and is it even possible to meet global climate aspirations without the ocean playing a central role?
Thank you, Jyotika. Yeah, I was very excited to see how blue COP26 was, and that the ocean is gaining a lot of attention in international climate policies. And as a climate modeler, of course, I can only say we need the ocean to meet global climate aspirations. And why is the ocean important? The ocean is a solution to climate change, but it is under pressure. We see ocean warming, we see ocean acidification, we see ocean deoxygenation. And we need a healthy ocean in order to meet climate protection, or to protect climate and to keep biodiversity. And this is really essential for life on this planet, for all of us. So the ocean is taking up 90% of the heat of the global warming. And it has taken up 30% of CO2 since the industrialization, leading to ocean acidification. And we've lost 2% of global oxygen. And let me give you an example why the ocean is so important for climate. I would like to take you on a journey to the ocean in the Labrador Sea, between Greenland and Canada. And this is the lung of the ocean. This is where we have deep water formation. So this is where we have oxygen sinking or getting from the atmosphere down into the deep ocean. And this is, of course, oxygen is important for marine life. And we only have very few places, and we heard it yesterday in the polar session, that the Southern Ocean is also a region of oxygen supply to the deep sea. So, and we were only recently, was it possible to measure this oxygen flux from the atmosphere down to the deep ocean? And so we are very excited, scientists from GEOMAR and scientists from the University of Dalhousie in Halifax put dissolved ocean oxygen sensors in the Labrador Sea on the mooring we have, and they saw that half of the oxygen from the atmosphere goes down to the deep ocean. And then the oxygen in the deep ocean is transported globally through the ocean currents, providing the need for oxygen for life in the ocean.
So it's pretty fundamental then. Thank you. So Valérie, this question's for you. So coral reefs are an iconic ecosystem, and they seem to be well studied. But can you tell us more about the importance of coral reefs, which are often referred to, of course, as the tropical forests of the ocean, and their benefit to society?
Merci. Bonjour à tous. Yeah,
thank you all.
You compare with tropical forest. As it was said by our minister, half of the oxygen of the world is coming from the ocean. And ocean, if we can compare it, our lungs, I will say it for the young people here, l'océan, c'est nos poumons. And coral reefs, as you said, is really emblematic of the ocean. And they provide with a lot of things for us, for the society. They provide mainly three ecosystem services. They provide food for a lot of people, for 500,000 of people at least. Not 500,000, 500 million of people in the world. They provide also with, they protect our coast, and it is really important. And also they provide with other services like tourism. This is a picture, by the way, of coral from the surface taken by IRD people in New Guinea and Papua. That was taken in 2014. Also, what they are in danger because in less than 200 years, we lost 50% of the coral reefs. And if the prediction is what we still know, we are going for plus minus 2 degrees or 1.5, plus 2 degrees means that we will lose almost 70 or 90% of the coral reefs. France covers mainly 10% of the coral reefs around the world, and France decided to protect 100% of our coral reefs by 2025. So I hope that that will be a decision made by all the people all around the world.
Thank you. That's great to hear that. Yeah, kudos on that. So I appreciate all the answers from the panelists and really emphasizing on the importance of science for society. I would like to see if there are any questions from the audience at the moment. Yes, I see a hand raised there. Can we get a microphone to... And can you say which institution you're...
Is it working? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, great. So good morning, bonjour. Together with my colleague, we are representing the early career researchers with the OOS University, which is led by the Université de Bretagne Occidentale. I'm Victor. I'm a Brazilian benthic marine ecologist. And as you stated, we also defend that research needs to be co-designed responsibly with different and diverse actors. So I wanted to know, how will you encourage and support a more collaborative science at a national and international level? Thank you.
Great question. Thank you very much. So for any of the panelists, how would you encourage international collaboration in science? Any thoughts?
I can speak for my domain. International, this always sounds a bit like global, and that's not that easy, because we ethically talk about one ocean, but reality shows that the conditions differ from ocean to ocean. So what we see is what makes more sense is to build up coalition in regions, because there is a more common interest in specific topics to address. And if you manage, for example, we're looking forward to have a systematic survey for the North Atlantic. And that would be wonderful if there would be a coalition of the coastal states of the North Atlantic. So it is a decent part of the world, but it's an eminent, important part. So thinking regional and then, okay, transform that as blueprint into other regions. That would be our approach.
Great. Katja.
Yeah, I would like to add, I absolutely agree with regional focus, but it's also very important not to only focus on marine science if we talk about the ocean, but it's really transdisciplinary. So we have to engage with other disciplines in order to solve the problem and to find the solution for a societal transformation. So it's not only international research, but really transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary research that is needed.
Great. And Valérie, do you want to add anything on that?
Yeah, well, as you said, I think a transdisciplinary approach are really important. We need to develop research for the society, involve the society, and especially societies from the south. IRD is one of the French organisms working towards developing countries and toward south countries. So the way we work, it's to develop collaboration, to develop platforms in a way that we involve our partners in the south. So operational platforms are really important, laboratories. So this is the way we do, and also to host researchers and people from these countries in France, for example, in Europe, and to really share our knowledge together.
Thank you. And I don't know if Margaret has anything to add. I'll give her a second. All right, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to ask another question, actually, of all the panelists. And my next line of questioning is around gaps. So we know why the science is important. So from each of the panelists, I would really like to know what are the top 2 gaps. So for Katja, with so much discussion around climate, can you give me the top 2 most critical ocean knowledge gaps that you think are hindering our collective ability to meet these global climate aspirations?
Yeah, sure. So my top 2 knowledge gaps are a sustainable ocean observing system. That's the top, because this is really this is critical for all mitigation and adaptation strategies. And my example that I explained from the North Atlantic or from the Labrador Sea with oxygen, we were only now this year, we published a paper where we observed the oxygen flux into the deep sea for the past 2 years. So only these new ocean technologies make it possible to really understand the system. So that is key, and this is one of the UN decade challenges. Expand the global ocean observing system. And second, my second critical knowledge gap is really ocean-based solutions to climate change. I explained that the ocean is taking up a lot of carbon naturally, and I think we can use the ocean to fight global warming. What can we do? We have natural solutions. We can, for example, grow seagrass meadows, or seagrass is taking up much more CO2 than a forest, 30 to 40 times more, but there are also technical solutions like ocean alkalinization to enhance CO2 uptake or CO2 storage under the seafloor. So really these 2 things, observations, which are also important for a digital twin of the ocean, which we will talk about, and ocean-based climate solutions to really mitigate and adapt to climate change.
Thank you. And Valérie, I'm going to go to you next and ask same question for coral reefs. What are the 2 most fundamental things that we still don't know about them, and why are these gaps hindering our abilities to forward sustainable management of the ocean?
It's difficult to answer because I don't think there is only 2 gaps, but we still know a lot of things. The problem also we have is to share the knowledge and to listen also to local knowledge. But go back to the gap is maybe what I said, if the temperature is increasing, these coral reefs that are living organisms, so they live with other microorganisms, they are submitted to stress, acidification, temperature, so maybe we don't know enough about their resistance, their resilience to this kind of stress. So this is maybe the main gap. But also I have some hope because with new biotechnologies, new technologies, we know much more about what they are around, living around these coral reefs, and we may discover a lot of new things about molecules, about connectivity within these coral reefs.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm going to move on. Actually, I've just been given a 4-minute warning here. So, Margaret, if you're still online, what are the 2 biggest gaps in knowledge about biodiversity in the ocean?
Thank you. Yes, Jyotika. I think the 2 biggest gaps are what is the full scope of biodiversity. For many years, we looked at biodiversity going out on ships and catching things with the nets or whatever, and then counting them. Or we've done like pictures of things and then counting them. But we have new tools from the biotechnology community, biomedical community. And these are observations. And this allows us to just take a sample of water and we can analyze the DNA in it. And everything that has lived in that water or passed through that water that has eliminated eDNA by metabolic ways, skin or died, can be analyzed. Work has been done in the last 5 to 7 years that we can identify so much more by these techniques. Whole new taxonomic groups that we never even knew were in the ocean for specific environments. And so filling in those gaps is the big challenge for us.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. And I'm going to conclude here with Matthias for the same question.
The bitter truth is the ratio between decently mapped waters and unknown waters is 20 to 80, 20 for the mapped waters. So we have 80% left to map. The big problem lies in blue water, in deep water, and in particular in polar waters. What we need is systematic survey, paid by countries capable to do that. We don't need to do that in one go. North Atlantic would be a good thing. We made a calculation. This is $90 million to do it within 8 years, which is absolutely payable, comparable to the price of one cruise ship. And the second wish on my wish list is to lower the barriers of MSR under the United Nations Convention of Law of the Sea, if not remove that. So that is a great barrier for cargo floating, things like this. So, and coastal states should look towards removal of this limitations for their waters of jurisdiction, EEZ, and hopefully territorial waters. That would help a lot in mapping of the coastal waters. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much to this panel for laying out the scientific importance to society and also where we can take our next first steps very clearly. I really appreciate that. So round of applause to the panel. So in the interest of time, I'm actually going to move on to the second panel and turn to some specific solutions. So last year, the UN Ocean Decade endorsed actions. There was 166 in total, including 31 transformative global ocean science programs. And they've just closed the call for additional proposed actions. And I hear they've received over 170 submissions related to marine pollution, ecosystem management, and the ocean climate nexus. So all of these actions are tackling 10 issues that have been identified scientifically as making a difference. And Margaret is involved in one of them, the OBON network, and also Seabed 2030, which is for seafloor mapping. And you're going to hear more about that later. But I would like to actually discuss some other specific actions and solutions for sustainable ocean management. So joining me on this panel are Dr. François Houllier, who is seated at the end there, President Director General from IFREMER. And then joining us remotely, I have three panelists, Jean-Éric Paquet, Director General of DG Research and Innovation of the European Commission. And then from the Pacific, I have two panelists, Stuart Minchin, Director General de la Communauté du Pacifique, and Ambassador Ilana Saeed, Ambassador of Palau, who's going to be hosting the Our Ocean Summit along with the US in April. So again, I asked the panelists to be succinct in their response to questions, and I will also be looking for questions from the audience. So, François, as you are here, I would like to start with you. The One Ocean Initiative brings together researchers from 33 organizations in 37 countries in a virtual format. So can you tell us about the One Ocean Initiative, about the aims and achievements and its links to other global frameworks, including the Ocean Decade?
So good morning. Yesterday morning we organized, in fact, two fora. And these two fora were about One Ocean Science on the side, and also about science on the seven seas on the other side somehow. Why do I say that? So the idea of One Ocean Science initiative was to bring together institutions from different countries, as you said, 37. And the basic idea was, as we always say, there is one ocean, but we wanted also to demonstrate that there is one ocean science community. So the basic idea was to bring together 37 scientists from different countries, from the Fiji to the United States, and from Romania to Tanzania, for example. And that was the first idea. So having this community and to demonstrate that this is a vibrant, that this is a lively community, that although there are many diverse facets of ocean sciences, these scientists are able to produce new knowledge. They also are able to produce solutions or to elaborate about the solutions. And the third idea is that these people should be able to simply speak to the general public. And this is what we did in front of, before the COP26 that was held in Glasgow. And doing that, we were able, thanks to this digital tour of ocean science that we organized, to reach out more than 9 million people in the world through social networks. So, of course, it's only social networks. It was not a physical presence, but I think this is quite a result in terms of demonstration of the capability of the One Ocean Science community to work together. And the other aspect yesterday morning was about the cooperation between the fleets, the research vessel. And I think this is important that it was at the European level, but there was also a New Zealander that participated in the forum yesterday morning, to the capability to organize transnational access to the different fleets in Europe or the world over is something that is critical if we want to have this scientific community working together. So these were the two facets of what we did yesterday morning. Well, that's basically what we are able to do. And we have been organizing transnational access in Europe for many years, but definitely there are things to be better done, more coordinated in the future, not only at this European level, but also at the world level.
That's great, thank you. And in a way, it also leads back to that question from the audience about international collaboration. So thank you for that. And Stuart, who is joining us from the Pacific, I hope you can hear the question. The Pacific community is leading an endorsed decade program that will work with governments to develop science-based national ocean policies. What are some of the biggest challenges and some of the biggest needs in achieving the ambitions of this project? What's needed to ensure that regional ocean management strategies in the Pacific can be supported by robust ocean data and services?
Great. Well, thanks for that question. I thought I would share with you very briefly just a slide to explain our region to start with. The blue Pacific continent, the Pacific, 98% ocean, very small land areas, but huge ocean areas. 50% of the world's annual global tuna supply comes from our region. There are only 12 million people, and we contain 20% of the world's exclusive economic zones, 30% if you include New Zealand and Australia. So a big area and with big needs. So what we believe we need in the Pacific to help us manage our ocean is a fundamental change and transformation in our ability to observe the ocean. And we've heard that from a number of panelists already tonight. I'm just sharing here at the top of this slide a study that was done in 2019 looking at the current and future value of earth and marine observing to the APEC economies. And it highlighted that currently the value of this capability is $372 billion per year, but it's expected to grow to $1.35 trillion by 2030, which is a huge increase. And our question is, how can the Pacific benefit from that growth? It was interesting to note that an additional 126 billion was realisable by doing this on a regional basis rather than on a country-by-country basis, which really gets back to Matthias's comment before about the need to do this regionally. So there are three big things we need. We need a capability, an operational capability to deliver Earth observations for marine and land systems, and we're working on that already through a project called Digital Earth Pacific. We need ocean modelling and forecasting operationally to support our measurement of tuna. I'm sitting here with a tropical cyclone on top of me at the moment, and we don't have the ability to routinely model the impacts of storm surges storm runoff and tsunamis, for example, in our region. And thirdly, we need systematic in situ monitoring within our region. The recent Tonga eruption and the tsunami that arose from that the tsunami was only picked up because we had a continual tide gauge in Tonga. And the fact that we had a tide gauge there in situ allowed the region, countries in the region to have a prior warning that there was a tsunami being generated from that event. So operational Earth observations, operational ocean modelling, and systematic in situ measurement, that's what the Pacific needs from the global community. Back to you.
Thank you, Stuart. And I should actually also, first of all, thank Margaret for joining us. I think it's like midnight in the time zone that she was in. And also, Stuart, thank you for joining us under a tropical cyclone there. The connection is remarkably fantastic, I have to say. So I'm going to turn to Ambassador Ilana. Who's also in the Pacific, who's in Palau at the moment. We've been talking a lot about the knowledge gaps that are needed for sustainable ocean management. But to generate and use ocean knowledge in a sustainable way, there are many other prerequisites. Can you give us a perspective from Palau as a prominent country on some of the biggest needs and opportunities as we think about equitable access to knowledge, to skills, technology, and to resources? So, Ilana.
Thank you, Jyotika. For this very interesting question. Palau, as you know, is a very large ocean state. It is, however, one of the smallest countries in the world population-wise. So we have about 20,000 people here. And so the issue for us is a capacity issue, and it's also a technical and institutional capacity issue. So we don't have the population, and we don't have the institutions that really allow us to do the deep work necessary. For example, we don't have any research vessels here that can do the kind of work that larger institutions and higher education organizations can do. We don't have kind of deep sea ocean drones. So that's mainly the issue that we're facing. So how we've tried to solve that is by partnering with broader institutions. Just to give you an example, our International Coral Reef Center here partners with the Stanford Center for Ocean Solutions, and they do a very strong collaboration where we rely on Stanford scientists to come and work with us here on the ground. We use their technology, we use their resources, and they also in turn learn from the indigenous people who are really touching the ocean on a daily basis. So that's been a really strong partnership. So that's really the gap that we, I think, are trying to fill, to create more partnerships like that where we can exchange knowledge both ways. One other thing that we're actively working on is how can we send our people to get access to higher levels of education, for example, at Stanford, so that we learn things kind of natively and we can also bring it back home and train our people that way. So I think that's mainly the big issue for us is we have the ocean, we have the biodiversity, we have the conservation mindset and the sustainable ocean use goal. We don't have the capacity, we don't have the funding. And so moving forward, I think partnerships that kind of go both ways are the way that we hope to solve that going forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador, for that. That's a really nice framing of what Palau has and what it needs. So appreciate that very much. I'm going to turn to Jean-Eric. What role do you see that the European Commission can play in supporting partners around the world, including SIDS, to gaining that equitable access to skills, knowledge, and technology that will underpin sustainable ocean management?
Well, good morning. Thank you very much. I hope you will hear me properly because my experience is that I hear you very well, but the two speakers thereafter, this was much more challenging. So maybe you can look into that. But to reply to your question, I think on the European side, we share, of course, the views already expressed that we remain with critical knowledge gaps on the ocean, on mapping, on biodiversity, on the ocean climate nexus. We need to continue to invest globally in that knowledge. And of course, also as we make progress in acquiring the knowledge, that we have good platforms in the UN context, but also in regional contexts, to ensure that this knowledge is well shared and used. And I think under an open science heading, if you want, I'm sure that we can do better. What I think is also going to be key and much discussed during the summit now is the idea of a digital twin of the ocean. The European Commission is very committed to contributing, we hope critically, to the development of that digital twin, which I think will be key in filling some of these knowledge gaps. I think what is also, from a European perspective, very visible is that we need to move from knowledge and science to effectively solutions and deploying solutions. So from science, if you want, to action, that is very much the way we are looking at research and innovation continuum into making solutions available for society, and this applies to oceans as well. And I'm sure, as some of you know, in Europe we launched 5 European missions which aim at deploying research outcomes in society, and one of these 5 missions is about restoring our oceans. And this is where we hope that the knowledge acquired can then be immediately actionable for communities, regions, cities, at our shores, also around our water systems in Europe, to make a decisive contribution to restoring the quality of our oceans, which is one of the key challenges that we are facing globally here in Europe as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean-Eric. Just so you know, you were coming across loud and clearly, so that's great. I am going to take a break from my questions and see if there are any from the audience. Yes. We'll get you a microphone.
Thank you. Good morning. I am also a researcher from the One Ocean Summit University who worked on a call for action, which can actually be seen at the exit of this room. So as an oceanographer working with artificial intelligence, my question would be, how can we concretely develop these new blue skills and invest in the climate and ocean data scientists for tomorrow? Thank you.
Great question. And I appreciate the bringing in of the artificial intelligence and weaving that into how can we look to the future and the education. So I'd like to turn that to any of our panelists. I'm looking at François because you're the only one here in person. However, should any of them who are online joining us virtually like to address that, that'd be great. But François, I'll start with you.
One thing that is clear is that, so we heard a bit about the digital twin of the ocean, but it is also clear that beyond assembling data, beyond coupling these data with models, we need to invest also in these new fields of artificial intelligence. I cannot speak in general about that, but I know that, for example, here in Brest, there is a share from IMT Atlantic, to which IFREMER is part of, which is developing this field of artificial intelligence. Recently, we had a visit by the president and CEO of CNES, which is the French National Space Agency, and we visited one of our labs, which is joint with the university and the CNRS and also IRD. And they showed there what they are doing for monitoring the hurricanes. And when you do that, you need a lot of also artificial intelligence. If I come back to what Margaret Leinen told us also about molecular biodiversity, if we want to couple molecular biodiversity with the classical way that we used to describe the biodiversity, we will need artificial intelligence, and we know that here we have some projects on that. So definitely there is a need to invest in this area. using the classical tools or the teaching, doing new research, well, that's definitely important.
Thank you, François. And let me just see if any of the panelists who are online have anything to add to this.
Yeah, I can maybe say that the digital twin of the ocean project, which will of course need to have a skills component, and as we start progressively drawing it up, this will no doubt have, I think, major impact on our capacities to deal with data through AI included, and therefore I would very much recommend that those of us which are really engaging on the digital twin keep this at the forefront of the design.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other panelists online? I know we're going to have an interloper from the previous panel who really wants to say a few words. Matthias.
Yeah, I was complaining before we have sparse data areas, but it's also true that we have sometimes overload with data. So we have big data, and no human is anymore able to process that. So we definitely need that. And public expectation today is that they don't want to wait for ages before the outcome. So the expectation that should be as up to date as the weather forecast. So we need that. And what comes on top is we should be cross-sectoral with the management of the data. If we really want to, and this digital twin, I name it digital aquarium, if that is a holistic image of the conditions, so then we have to merge data cross-sectoral. And that's definitely nothing what humans can do anymore. So we need those mechanisms to create this room of data. And this is not particularly designed for visual presentation. This is for machines talking with machines. So there's a component of the treatment of the big data, but likewise a component of the interpretation of those data. And it's much better done by artificial intelligence than human stupidity. Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any others, before I ask any other questions, were there any other answers from our panelists who are online?
I'll have a go if that's all right. Stuart here.
Please do, yeah.
So I didn't really get a chance to explain Digital Earth Pacific, but what I would highlight is that it's not just about operational data, it's about transforming that data into knowledge and decision-ready products that people can make use of operationally. We need artificial intelligence for that. We need cloud services. We're actually doing the prototype of Digital Earth Pacific at the moment with the cooperation of Microsoft and their planetary computer. So our region is moving into that digital enablement space and needs that in order to make use of those observations to help societal decisions. Observations in themselves are not all that useful, and both in our ocean science and in our Earth observation science, we've been very good at giving people observations and wondering why they don't make use of them to make decisions. We need to transform those observations into operational services and product that people can make use of without becoming an ocean scientist or without becoming a remote sensing professional.
Thank you, Stuart. So I think we've got about 4 minutes left. So actually, I do want to ask, before we run out of time, as we do have Ambassador Ilana online, we know that the Our Ocean Conference is coming up in April, and which will be another major event in the global calendar this year, and a landmark for ensuring change. So what is, from your perspective, the ambition for Our Ocean Conference, and what would success look like? I think she's still there. No.
Hello, everyone. It's my great pleasure to address you today.
Can we cut that? That's too soon. That was certainly not Ambassador. Anna, there you are.
Hi. Thank you, Jyotika. Yes, the conference is slated to happen April 13th and 14th this year here in Palau. We're co-hosting the conference with the United States. This was originally John Kerry's baby, and it's the first time the Our Ocean Conference is going to be held in a SIDS country. So we're really excited to have the international community come here and learn more about the issues relating to oceans from a SIDS perspective. We are focused on 6 commitment areas: marine protected areas, marine pollution, sustainable blue economy, sustainable fisheries, marine security, and the climate ocean nexus. So success for us is really for all these heads of state and foreign ministers to come to Palau and pledge their commitments to these 6 areas. We're really excited. I'm here on the ground right now, and planning is going really well. So we hope to see a lot of you there and move. Basically, the ambition is really to come from Brest to Palau to the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon in June and take the momentum from each of these conferences into this UN Ocean Decade. So we're really excited to be the next step in the path forward.
Thank you, Ambassador. That's great. So we are running on time here, and I want to try and stay on time. So I am going to wrap this up. I do want to say thank you for the questions from the audience. I particularly appreciate the artificial intelligence one. I co-chair the Technology and Innovation Informal Working Group for the UN Ocean Decade, and so that's very close to my heart. But I'm going to move on and thank the panelists again for a really great overview of some of the actions and the solutions and the challenges that are truly globally, we've heard, all the way around the world from the Pacific, for being enacted and describing some of the barriers to making substantial change. So a round of applause to the panelists. And so now we can go back to the video that was shown. I would like to invite some 2 to 3 minute interventions and calls to action. And the first was that Seabed 2030 video. So is it possible to play that now?
Hello everyone, it's my great pleasure to address you today on behalf of the Nippon Foundation GEBCO Seabed 2030 project to ask for your help and support in global ocean mapping, a flagship program of the Ocean Decade. Like you, we know oceans are key to our survival, and our mission is fundamental: to map the complete ocean floor by the end of the decade. Like you, we aim to mobilize the international community and to take tangible action. And in our case, that action is to gather vital data of our seafloor. Thanks to the tremendous contributions received to date, we have managed to quadruple the data in the GEBCO world map. But that means we still have 80% of our ocean floors still to map. And mapping those gaps is vital to our understanding of everything from sea level rise to tsunami forecasting to discovering new ecosystems. A monumental task, equal in scale to the space program, but unlike the space program, we do not need to do it all at once. We need to focus our efforts on the most productive work, and that's why last year we worked alongside Blue Economy Solutions partner NLA International to share an online survey across the global community and to determine a set of priorities for our ocean mapping work. And we were delighted by the responses. 800 stakeholders across 90 countries. You provided us with rich, detailed and thoughtful answers. Next, we will undertake modelling to calculate what benefits may be derived from mapping in identified hotspot areas. We need your help to identify a global priority list that divides our one ocean into manageable portions. And then we need to get on with achieving it by mobilising the international community to take tangible action to map our ocean floor. Something we will amplify and expand on at future ocean gatherings, including at the forthcoming World Ocean Summit and also at the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie, and the Nippon Foundation GEBCO Seabed 2030 program which is one of the UN decade-endorsed actions. I'd like to now invite the next intervention by Admiral Christophe Prazuk, who is the director de l'Institut de l'Ocean de l'Alliance, Sorbonne Université, on the One Ocean Invisible Life. Admiral.
Well, thank you. My name is Christophe Prazuk. I'm the director of the Ocean Institute in Sorbonne University. And I was previously chief of the French Navy, and after 42 years as a sailor, which makes me, according to marine biologists, a diadromous marine mammal, alternating different aquatic environments, the environment of ocean knowledge and the environment of ocean action. Returning to the world of knowledge at the Sorbonne, I was struck by the progress of ocean sciences, especially in marine biology. We have understood, notably thanks to the Tara expeditions, that the living organisms of the ocean, in their most elementary and microscopic forms, have shaped our planet and climate and will continue to do so. This has been understood through basic science, but also through emerging technologies such as environmental DNA, automated quantitative imaging, AI, and data science. We are probably on the verge of having a synoptic view of the life in the ocean, as ocean physicists and chemists have built one for several decades. To reach this stage, we must now multiply the observations and link researchers and sailors more closely. To increase the number of observations, we must first increase the number of biological sensors. In the Plankton Planet program, researchers from the marine stations of Sorbonne University, CNRS, Stanford, and Maine universities have joined their efforts to co-develop such sensors with the double constraint of technical performance and frugality. These sensors can now deliver hundreds of thousands of images and billions of DNA sequences of the invisible living organisms in the ocean. It's now time to multiply the observers. This is where my diagram becomes an asset to implement the Bougainville project. We want to propose to young researchers in marine biology from the Sorbonne to embark on board some Navy units along our coast, but also in the Indian Ocean, in the Central and Western Pacific, in the West Indies, in French Guiana, in polar waters. They will implement the frugal sensors invented in the laboratories. They will feed the open databases with regular observations made in places not often visited by scientific expedition. They will inform the crews about the biodiversity they are usually crossed without perceiving it. As a consequence, this knowledge will reinforce the meaning of the sailor's mission to protect maritime spaces. The Bougainville project will contribute to the observation of life in the ocean. It will contribute to the necessary industrialization of frugal biological sensors. And finally, it will encourage the entire maritime community to take up the challenge of the invisible life of the ocean. The Bougainville project is pragmatic. The first trials took place off Brest a few weeks ago. And during this summit, in the commercial port of Brest, aboard the French Navy ship Garonne, you are welcome to see the achievement of the teams of the Plankton Planet experiment, Sorbonne University and IFREMER. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Admiral. So next, you've already heard of the Mercator Ocean Initiative today, but I would like to invite Pierre Barou, who's the Director General of Mercator Ocean International. Pierre.
Thank you very much. I'm calling to action for a digital twin of the ocean. Digital to invite the power of digital into the ocean science, just to generate more knowledge and more relevant decisions. Twin, because we cannot anymore play with the real ocean and destroy it before to understand. We need a twin to do that. And the ocean, well, because it's time to have something dedicated to the ocean. We cannot continue with fragmented components and different things. We need really to have a digital twin of the ocean. I'm doing ocean prediction myself with European colleagues and with international collaboration. I'm very proud of this. I mean, we have a very clear and strong digital oceanography. We can monitor the environment and navigate in 3 different dimensions, connecting the ocean to the seas and predict the temperature, the salinity, the acidity, etc., etc. But this is not a twin. I have no fish swimming in these waters. I have no boats at the surface. I have no human beings playing with this. No plastic, no pollution. Imagine you're asking yourself, well, I'm a policymaker, I have the possibility to regulate and reduce the speed of the boat. What would be the impact of the noise in the ocean and then on the ecosystem? Well, scientists are smart enough to find you the answer. But they will have to play with different databases, different systems, different community. The twin will facilitate this. So a digital twin of the ocean is not a super system. It's a system connecting different databases, different systems, different teams, different skills, so that we can navigate into these different disciplines. And we are ready for that. So the motivation is very clear. We need this kind of digital twin of the ocean. We need this digital twin of the ocean. We are ready. The skills are there. We have the best scientists, engineers. And we have 2 frameworks for action. The first is the UN Decade for Ocean Science, where we'll find a place to stimulate innovations and connecting people and teams to do that at the international level. Fantastic place. And we have good programs. One is DITO for digital twin. Other are collaborative center for ocean prediction. Other are actions for the coast predict, etc. We have a place where it would be great. And the other one is the EU mission to restore our water and the ocean and waters, starfish, name it starfish. Because there, for the first time, we have a place at the European level, at the Commission, cross-cutting the different disciplines, artificial intelligence, observations, modeling, infrastructures, maritime things, etc. And we go there and we will work all together to connect all the things and build a digital twin of the ocean. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pierre, for that fantastic overview of what's happening. I think that's really exciting. So finally, I'd like to invite Assistant Secretary of State for Oceans and International Environment and Scientific Affairs from the United States Department of State, Monica Medina, to come up and to say a few words as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. This has just been an amazing panel. Minister Messa, Minister Vidal, esteemed scientists and guests. It's just been an incredible overview of all the science happening in the ocean, and it always reminds me why I loved working in an ocean science agency in our government. First, I worked at NOAA before joining the State Department. As scientists warn us, and as many here have noted, we are at a crossroads. One path leads us to more of the same, an ocean that is getting warmer and more acidic and less productive, a world of more extreme weather and rising seas, and a natural world burdened with more pollution and even less biodiversity. But the other path leads us to a new relationship with nature, a path that reverses the decline in the health of the ocean, a path that restores the nature and the species with whom we share this planet, and a world where we can live more sustainably with nature. The decisions we make and the actions we take over the next months and decades will determine the health of the ocean and our planet for centuries to come. And so as we walk down this path together for a better future, science is what will lead the way. It gives us hope. Science, listening to all of these incredible things that scientists are doing, gives us hope that we can reverse the declines in the ocean. Science must inform the decisions we make as nations and as a global community. We have to make smart decisions. Science will get us those smart decisions. Science can lead to technology and nature-based solutions, and those are the very things we need to overcome these challenges. So we need to use the best technology. And what's been so wonderful to see here today is all the young scientists. Science will inspire the next generation of young men and women to be the leaders we need for tomorrow and to prepare or to protect the ocean for the generations to come. So when I think about all that we have ahead of us, I can't imagine how we could possibly do the work we need to do without science. And I'm just inspired as ever. My bureau is all about science. We are oceans, environment, and science. It's central to what we do. It guides all of our work. And as we embark on this decade, I think we now know that we have to commit to science. And we in the United States are very committed to science. In the Biden administration, it's one of our underpinnings of all our work. And we're determined to listen to the scientists and to protect the integrity of science as we do the work. So in summary, in just what's been an incredible panel, I just want to thank all the panelists, thank everyone out there who's listening, thank everyone here, and say, let's choose a path for a better world. Let's make those choices, and let's make sure we have the science that we need so that we can have the ocean that we want. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Medina. So to kick off the closing remarks, I would like to now turn to our co-chairs and to invite Pascal Lamy, co-chair of this session, and former World Trade Organization General Secretary, onto the stage to talk about the role that Europe will play in supporting ocean science and sustainable ocean management over the next 10 years via its recently launched mission, Restore Our Ocean and Waters, by 2030.
Thanks a lot. Good morning to everybody. I'll focus my few words on the digital twin ocean, and I don't need to recall why we need one and what it should be after what we've heard this morning. I just want to make two simple points. Number one, a European digital twin of the ocean is not a dream anymore. It's in construction as part of this Starfish mission. And number two, and that's because we have to think about what they will do tomorrow, scaling up this European digital twin ocean to the global level will necessitate a major governance effort. To start with the first point, this EU mission, Restore Our Ocean and Waters by 2030, has adopted a starfish as a symbol which represents the 5 areas where new action, new resources need to be combined in order to regenerate the EU hydrosphere by 2030. One of these 5 legs is about augmenting science and knowledge, and embarking on an EU digital twin is a big chunk of that. This has been decided. It will build on existing observation and processing systems such as Copernicus Marine, EMONET, Mercator Ocean, and the like. The objective is to have an operational core digital twin of the ocean that can be linked to local twins for 2025. My second point is that an EU digital twin ocean only makes sense if we scale it up at the global level. Doing this raises serious governance challenges, which are very familiar to my co-chair and friend Vladimir Ryabinin and to his team at UNESCO. these governance challenges will need decisions at the highest level. Let me just mention a few. Prioritizing science for action, establishing priorities. Choices have to be made among competing priorities. That's why we have decade collaboration centers. That's why we in the EU have ranked Ocean Predict, Coastal Predict, and Biodiversity number 1, 2, and 3. Coordination of observations, whether space or water, we still have quite a way to go to properly organize our programs of observation, of collection of data, and to make them interoperable. Aggregation of big data, the zillions of new data AI machines need to provide us with the simulation we will have to be formatted and made not only comparable but fungible. And scientists know that this often is a big challenge. The sharing of results of benefits, the UN well-known COP15 and the following's common but differentiated responsibility means that a digital twin ocean has to go hand in hand with sharing the new science it creates with poorer, less developed countries, and this is a serious global governance issue. And finally, transparency and openness. Rules must exist in the international system to ensure that ocean new science is openly accessible, a strong incentive to develop citizen science, as we do it with starfish, a quote-unquote transparent and accessible ocean as per the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. So, to conclude, let me propose the message I believe we in the machine room should send to the bridge for tomorrow, if you're okay with that. So the message for tomorrow, as I see it from what we heard this morning, is very simple. We can only do our job for ocean science if you, up there, on the bridge, do your governance, do your organizing job. Please be prepared to do that. We are prepared to do our part of the job. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Pascal. And to wrap up our final words, but I'll come back afterwards, will be from the other co-chair of this session. So I'd like to invite Vladimir back onto the stage to give us some of his final thoughts on this.
Thank you, my dear Jyotika. So, you know, basically the conclusion will be very short. We spoke about the critical gaps in knowledge that exist. We spoke about also a possibility, once in a lifetime possibility for us to address those critical challenges. And we can unite behind the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development to achieve it. The principles, well, this is cutting edge science, and also the science that is joining us. The science of equity, the science of honesty, and we need it for the future. So, you know, this is was not kind of expected, but I would like to say the following. I'm not a singer. You may call me a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Today, let us join together and the world will live as one.
Vladimir, you're a genius. Those words, it's original. So I would like to thank again all of the speakers and the panelists and our co-chairs here. Thank you very much for a really great session. I would like to say I knew this was a very talented room of people. We were on time and everyone was brief, and so I really appreciate that. And I thank you all for attending and for watching virtually. I hope you all walk away having learned something of interest and enjoy the rest of this One Ocean Summit. Thank you.